everybody. My name is Kristen Binford. I have some very special guests with us here today. I'm going to invite them to the front of the room to introduce themselves and their venue. This is a really exciting story that we're excited to share with you today and celebrate their new venue owners. They are doing so many things that I'm so impressed by. I just heard from Carrie a few days ago, and she has a great celebration that I hope she'll share today on their success thus far. So Carrie, welcome to the front of the room. Will you introduce yourself and the team?
I will. I am Carrie Rogerson. This is my mother,
Lisa Wagner,
and my mother-in-law,
Debbie Rogerson.
Yep. And we are the owners of Whitestone Events out in Sugar Grove, Illinois.
Sugar Grove, Illinois. What suburb of Illinois is that around?
We're a suburb of Chicago. We're about
Chicago.
5 minutes out of Chicago.
Okay, cool. I knew that, but for everybody else listening, I thought that may be helpful. So guys, if you're here with us watching the first time we debut, please comment #live in the comments. If you catch this later, comment #replay. So I'm super excited to just hear your story and tell your story. Before we kind of dive in here, I'm curious, all sorts of folks think about getting into the wedding venue business. When you think back to when you were kind of drawing that initial plan on a napkin, what was it that what was the dream behind the story here? What was the reason that you wanted to get into the wedding business?
Yeah. So I have a degree in hospitality management. My degree is in event management. And my husband, Ryan, and I got married about 10 years. It'll be 10 years in September. And after we got married, we found a barn on the side of the road and went and knocked on the woman's door and said, "Hey, can we have our wedding at your house?" And she said, yes. And she charged us $600 for the weekend and gave it like half of it back to us as a wedding present. So we had our wedding for free because we asked nicely. And we joked from then on, our parents became very, very good friends. And we joked from then on that we were going to buy a compound one day and just live together off the grid. And
Well, not totally off.
Not off, yeah. But as the years went on, a wedding venue was something that I wanted to do for my entire life. That's what my degree is in. And we slowly started talking about it, and then it would fall off. And then a year later, we would talk about it again and it would fall off. And my husband found a property as we were on a walk one day, and he's like, "We're doing it." So it was just going to be us that sold our house and purchased the property. And then we realized that our budget was not where it needed to be. So Bob and Debbie decided to come in with us. We were all going to do it, but then we got them to sell their house. So our budget increased. And then when we found our property,
we weren't going to sell our house. And here we are.
So you guys have a unique property. I would love to just kind of shed a light on, tell me about your spaces, plural, which is a little bit different than a lot of folks in the industry.
Yeah, so we have 3 different buildings. So depending on the size of the party that you're planning, we can accommodate guests of 2 up to 250. So our 3 buildings, we are 1.25 miles away from the Aurora Airport. It's a small municipal airport. And so we decided with Alpha Bravo Charlie to name it because we needed to swing our direction in some way, and we needed to name the buildings because, quite honestly, the kids needed to know where we were when we were on the property. So Alpha is the big guy. That one is complete as of about a month ago, to the day, a month exactly. That building has flushing toilets and is complete. That one can hold 250 people, has a 30-foot long bar. It is at the Modern Farmstead is what we're calling it. So that one is beautiful and elegant and with a farm twist. Our medium-sized building is our Charlie barn, and that one is a 3-sided pole barn with the most spectacular view you will ever get. It's more of an industrial feel. And our smallest building is our Bravo building, and that one is the Joanna Gaines feel and can seat 120 comfortably. So the goal was to have a building that would really speak to anybody that stepped foot on the property. If you want the true rustic feel, we've got it. If you want the industrial feel, we've got it. If you want the more elegant
still outdoor
ballroom feel, but still outside, we've got that too.
And just for my clarity and everybody else's clarity watching, were all 3 of these existing buildings on the property that you retrofitted?
Yes, they were existing, but they looked nothing like they do now.
I believe.
And the funny thing is the smallest building took us the longest.
Why was that? For anybody who's watching and in a reno, we all have stories, right? But what was it that took the longest?
It was a cattle barn that was built in the 1940s.
Got it.
It's never been cleaned.
So,
Can I
but the wood, it's
But the
perfectly
wood was
preserved.
preserved. Underneath. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it was a definite labor of love.
Can I just say, like, I love that y'all are here with happy faces on, you're still family, you know what I mean? It's not easy getting through that process.
No, and it was winter and freezing,
cold.
but we did it.
We made it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So guys, we're going to get into some other things today on the share here as well. But I just want to celebrate first. Like, tell me about that message you just sent me. Tell me where you're at in terms of when you started booking and where you're at booking now. And then I'll ask you some more questions. What can you celebrate today? That's really my question about your booking so far.
Yeah, for sure. We just counted. We have at this point booked 85 weddings.
Yes.
Yeah.
We agree. And our season is late April through October, so we are not open in the winter.
Okay, that's amazing. So seasonally, an 85
seasonal.
wedding already. And you
Yes.
just, what did you do this weekend? I know, but tell everybody here with us.
We had 2 weddings back to back, and one of the things that we offer is that our brides and grooms can use 2 buildings. They can rent 2 buildings if they choose. So we set up a ceremony. We had this one, the Charlie Barn was their cocktail hour, and the Alpha Barn was the dinner and dancing. So that was a real run through for us to move people from parking to ceremony to cocktails to dinner. And our Saturday wedding was
Same building.
Same building.
Yep, just one building.
just one building Saturday.
And it was a bit smaller, but the bride was a bit more intense and needed
A bit more hand.
hand holding. So just, it was a smaller event.
But mom also needed hand.
Yes.
Yes. So a smaller event, but the workload was pretty similar.
Got it.
For an answer.
It's interesting. Yeah. So I have all sorts of questions. So just because I think this is a good kind of functional question for everybody listening in, especially who doesn't own a venue yet, how does it work with having multiple buildings and sound? Your DJ, do they have multiple setups? What does that look like for you guys?
So the way that our buildings work, we're in kind of a sound warp out here. When you are in the building, you can hear everything. When you step outside to the fire pits, it's like the music turns off. So it stays nice and quiet outside, but we did have we have our own server out here because we are kind of in the middle of nowhere. So we have Wi-Fi in all of our buildings, but for cocktail hour, it's up to the brides and grooms whether or not the DJ brings over the whole kit and
Which
caboodle.
they haven't done. They have little satellite.
Yeah.
Bring a little bit of satellite equipment with them.
Because
Is how it seems to work here.
it's more mood music. So if they don't have the capability, we have speakers that they can just hook up Pandora to, because it's just elevator music that they're playing during cocktail hour. They're not doing anything really major until the reception starts.
It's so interesting because the reason why I asked that question, I know it's a small question, but there's so many things to think about getting into this business and into this industry.
Well, you can't keep the alcohol behind the bar, because if the bar is not staffed and the building is a 3-sided pole barn, people can walk in. So all of the back bar has to be removed.
There's a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of moving parts. I totally agree. So guys, I'm curious. So when you think back to the very first conversation that you had with our team, right? What was it that kind of, what was it that encouraged you to reach out? What do you remember about that conversation?
I remember a lot about that conversation, but you start.
It's more the very first class that we listened to. I think we have 17 pages of notes from the very first class.
No joke.
That is not an exaggeration. No. There was so much information and we were like, this is gold. This is gold. We have to do this. We have to do this. And we've implemented so much of it.
Absolutely. What I remember most is our first phone call and the questions that you put to us that we had not even considered, not thought about. And I think you were very encouraging. Plus you made us commit. You're either going to do this or you're not. Make up your mind. Mm-hmm. And that was good for us.
So I'm curious because one of the things that I think is really tricky when you're a new venue owner, right? And when I say new, I mean, thinking back to that very first conversation we have. We hear a lot like, you don't know what you don't know, or we know that, right? When you're new to the business, you don't know what you don't know. So what are some of the things that have just been the most surprising to you? Or what were maybe some of the things coming into our work together you felt like, oh, we've got this handled, and then all of a sudden light bulbs, 17 pages of notes later. What were some of the
One of the main things is clarity, being very clear with our guests. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Definitely.
The sunset.
Sunset. The word sunset.
We have the most beautiful sunsets here.
When I said that, our bride and groom assumed that I meant you could see the ball of fire going into the sky. We
Well,
were
that's obvious.
we were facing east. The sun sets in the west. The sky looks beautiful when the sun is setting, but my terminology made it sound like the world was going to spin the opposite direction for them on the night of their wedding. So clarity is very important. And that is something that you drilled home, is that you have say what you mean and mean what you say.
And don't assume.
And make no assumptions.
Because after that conversation, we would stand in Charlie and go, and the sun sets over there.
Well, listen, I mean, for everybody listening at home, you guys know this now because you're in the business now. But one of the hardest things I believe as a new venue owner is that people's assumptions become our problems on wedding days, right? And if you're new to the business, if you're new to the industry for sure, but even if you're in the industry now and just new to owning a venue, there's so many things you don't realize people are going to make assumptions about. And so clarity isn't just something that like lets you put your head down on the pillow at night. It's like what keeps us in the business, right? It's what earns you good reviews. It's what allows you to deliver on the promise. I'm kind of curious. I've never asked anybody this before, but I think that you guys would be a good group to ask it to. So sometimes I talk to new venue owners and they think that the delivery of a great wedding day is about what you do on a wedding day. That's true.
To a point.
What else is it?
Oh, the preparation.
Preparation, yeah, definitely.
We have people say to us, every wedding we've hosted so far, it's not even just the bridal party or the guests, the vendors are saying it too, that they have never, we are all about the little details. When you are sitting in our ceremony location, if you can see the cars in the background, we make the guests move their cars. We have one of our guys in the parking lot directing traffic because it's important that the cars are not in the pictures. Apparently that's not something that anybody else thinks about around here, because all of the photographers have said to us, you're the first people to ask us about the shot. He said, it's my job to make sure that this is a good shot, and if it's not, I have to rearrange myself. And our response was, yes, but it's our job to make sure that you have a good shot for the bride. So it's the minutia that really matters. We have a driveway that if the guests come down the driveway after the ceremony starts, there will be a car driving behind the bride and groom, which will just naturally draw the eye of the crowd, which you don't want. The goal for your wedding day is to have all eyes on the bride and groom while they're getting married. So part of our homework assignment that you provided to us, which
is probably one of the most valuable
Yep.
pieces of our puzzle.
Yep.
The homework.
We ask our brides and grooms, do you want the driveway shut down? Great Aunt Mary is 2 minutes late. Your ceremony has started. Do you want her stopped at the driveway? And every single bride and groom says, I would have never thought about that, and that would have ruined our day. So it's just knowing the minutia and having all of that done before the wedding starts, because the bride should have a mimosa in her hand and the groom should have a beer in his hand, and they should not be answering questions on the day of their wedding. Their wedding should go seamless because all of the hard work should be done and the questions should be answered before it starts.
Wedding days are not about firefighting. If you're firefighting on wedding days, it's because the prep didn't happen as thoroughly and as well as it could have. And there's just, again, it just comes back to, it doesn't mean that we're not great people who care a lot. Everybody who owns a venue is that, right? But the preparation and the getting ahead of problems before they become problems starts long before the wedding day.
It does. And every wedding has taught us something different. The first wedding of the season was the first time that we had the groom space open, but the groom space we shut down before the ceremony because it's fun over there and there's pool and darts and shuffleboard, and we don't want the party fractured. So the guys don't get to play pool after the ceremony because they're supposed to be watching the first dance. But the question came of, what do we do with the guys' stuff? And that's one of those things that now got added to the homework assignment, because that's a question that should have been answered already. We should have known that. But again,
We
you don't know
didn't.
what you don't know.
Yeah.
So it now,
But you find out really quickly.
You find out fast.
Right. But I want to celebrate you guys because you did a great job accelerating your learning. When I started, there was so much we didn't know either. But I think what's so special about the work that we did together is you said, listen, we're smart people. We know we can be successful in this business. And I remember that about the first conversations with you guys. But you also recognize there's such a big learning curve, and learning on someone's wedding is not what we want to do. Right. So I want to celebrate how much work you did before you even got to your first wedding, because it's absolutely showing in your business, my friends.
Well, thank you very much. And we talked collectively before we got started, and we could have taken a whole entire season and fudged and slurred our way through the year and taken the hard knocks and not have been as successful as we've been with. I mean, coaching is huge. It has helped us tremendously.
We used that as a selling point when we first started, because everybody said, well,
Oh, you're new. You haven't done this before.
And our response was, we hired a mentor, and learning from others' mistakes rather than making them on your wedding day is a huge thing. And people appreciated that.
Yeah, they did.
For sure. So what would you say to someone who's kind of on the fence? Maybe they've watched a lot of our video testimonials with coaching clients before, and they've thought about booking a call, or maybe they booked a call a year or 2 or 3 years ago and it wasn't the right time. What would you just say to someone about booking a call with our team?
Quite honestly, the homework assignment itself is worth
Its weight in gold.
is worth the entire fee that you charge, and the rest of it's just added bonus.
It's so funny because, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I stand by what I said. We could have taken a whole entire year out of our lives and made a ton of mistakes, and then you talk about firefighting. It could have been an inferno. Truly.
And when you really look at it, it's like your GPA in college. Your very first semester matters so much, because if you bomb that first semester, your
catching
GPA,
up forever.
You're catching up forever. And when you have 2 reviews and one of them is a 1 and one of them is a 5, you will never be at a 5. And people care about reviews. So if you start phenomenally, you're setting yourself up for success. If you start without having any idea
Of what you're doing,
and the first 2 or 3 don't go exactly how you want them to go, the world will know about it. Because it's the only business that you have to rely on other people's opinions, because it's a one and done. You get one shot. And that is something that we tell our brides, and it's always the parents of the brides who are concerned. Oh, you're new. Well, we are new, but we're doing more volume than some of the venues who have been in business for 15 years.
Yeah.
And at this point, the customer service that you get from us is far superior than anywhere, and I would put our business on that.
Well, and you're willing to do the work. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who are in this business. I remember where we were going with this is part of the opportunity, and the win is finding ways to protect your joy. And so the other challenge with firefighting as a new venue owner is you're literally setting expectations with, like, if you don't learn it until tomorrow's wedding, but you have all of these weddings booked, it is really hard to go back and make right. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
it's another reason why it's not enough anymore. Listen, when I got into this business 10 years ago, my most direct competitor had a gravel floor in their venue. Now my most direct competitor has spent $3, $4, $5 million building venues, right? So the market has changed that much in the last 10 years. So we can't afford to wing it, because you're exactly right. I always tell my team, like, and we've talked about this as a family, your wedding days are like going to the championship game every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They don't get a do-over, and neither do we.
Yes.
right. Exactly.
We use those words. You get one shot.
Mhm.
And it has to be perfect. And we don't promise this is
Oh, that
directly
came
from you. We don't
Yep.
promise perfection, because it doesn't exist, but we will do our best to make it as perfect as we physically can. And you have one opportunity to do that. And if I never want to hear a bride say, my wedding is ruined because of you. That cannot, like, those words cannot happen. And we are doing everything in our power to make sure that that does not happen.
So guys, I'm curious, if we future paced, what do you want to be celebrating a year from now?
Employees. No, I'm kidding.
Team. Okay. Yeah. It's important.
A year
Yeah.
from now, we dove in head first into this. We all sold our homes and we are living on the property together. We are all in one house.
Now, it is
It's a
huge house.
It's a big house and there's wings and there's plenty of room for everybody. But within a year, I would like to be celebrating breaking ground on.
Oh, she wants to celebrate breaking ground. I think we would like to be moving in.
We're gonna celebrate moving in to the new houses on the property within a year. That's
Yeah, there we go. I love it, guys.
That is where we are going.
So you have an audience of established venue owners, new venue owners, maybe future venue owners. Is there anything else that you want to say or share that you feel like is an important part of your story, or you just have an audience of folks who are like us, but maybe not in the exact same spot that you are? Any other quick thoughts before we wrap for today?
The biggest thought that I have is just because it's important to us doesn't mean that anybody else cares about it. And that's something that's hard to wrap my brain around. And I asked you this, we were having a hard time with our Bravo building. People are gravitating towards Charlie and Alpha. And I messaged you and said, what do we do about this? And your response was, why do you care? And it was, and we all went, I don't know. I don't really know why we care, because we worked hard on
Because
it.
it's special to us.
Because it's special to us.
And I'm going to tell you, we probably just like gearing up to get started and outfitting things, and everybody, there are 6 of us. And even though the guys say that they sweep and they just do what they're told and they don't have an opinion, there's an opinion under there from time to time.
Yeah.
And we come up with an idea and they're like, what? And two things on that score. Number one, we have said 1,000,000 times, will our brides and grooms like this? This is what we like. Is this what a 24-year-old is going to like? And number two, when we disagree with each other, we generally come up with a better idea altogether. So disagreeing is not a bad thing. It's never a fight. Sometimes. When we wanted to paint the office ceiling in our office black, we got a little bit of a pushback, but it looks awesome. There's those, and it's not a fight, but sometimes everybody has a completely and totally different way they want to move or do. And when somebody throws on the brakes, it makes us literally stop and talk about it and talk it through. And then generally, whatever we come up with, it was a way better alternative to where we were headed.
It's hard. Family business, it's not for the faint of heart, you guys.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I said.
But we're all still standing.
That's exactly like the joy for anybody watching here with us at home. Like their joy here in the room is the joy they walked into the room with today. This isn't just for the video. So I love that, you guys. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you for what you've built and who you're becoming in this business and what you're doing for your couples. It's so evident to me that you really do want what's best for them, and it shows in your business. So congratulations, my friend. So guys, I just wanted to wrap up here by saying and celebrating these amazing humans who are doing great work in the wedding industry. There are so many fun and exciting stories for venue owners. We want to be bringing more of those to you in the group. If you want to take their advice and book a call with our team, the link to do that is kristenbinford.com/accelerator, kristenbinford.com/accelerator. There are no E's in my name, only I's. Guys, you can see our calendar online. It'll be with myself or with my team, Brandy or Jerry. We'd love to support you and having a really real conversation about your business. I think you guys made a great point there, right? That initial conversation that we had was, sometimes those conversations are big. Sometimes they're tricky. Sometimes they're hard, but they're important in your business. And I'm so glad that we had that conversation. And I'm so glad to be celebrating you guys here today. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll bring you another amazing story sometime in the next few weeks. But thanks again for being with us today, guys. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kristen.
Bye-bye.